We are required by state code to hold open forums prior to requesting or recommending to our Board of Regents that we increase board designated tuition. And we are going to request or recommend that board designated tuition be increased for beginning with the fall semester of 2014. And to be in compliance with the law, then we are holding 2 open forums. Houston and Dallas are with us at this forum, and we'll have another tomorrow. And then we'll report to the Board of Regents information back regarding the forums. Okay. What I'd like to do is just start with a definition of board designated tuition. The tuition that you see on your bill is made up of 2 different types of tuition. One being state tuition, which is $50 per semester credit hour, and the other board designated tuition. The state controls the state tuition, as you might guess, and the Board of Regents control the amount for board designated tuition. We are going to recommend to the Board of Regents that board designated tuition increase by $8.12 per semester credit hour from a current $130.20 per semester credit hour to $138.32, effective with the fall 2014 academic year. Now, we're here primarily to inform you and to get your input on the board designated tuition. However, in full disclosure, I also want to let you know that we're going to recommend a few fees increase as well. We are going to recommend that the student union fee increase by $3 per semester. It is currently at $35 a semester and would go to $38 a semester. We're going to recommend that the student service fee be increased by $2.21 per semester credit hour from a current rate of $29.04 to $31.25. And that would max out at $250 per semester, in essence at about 8 semester credit hours for a total enrollment for a student. We're recommending one other fee be increased, and that's the technology fee. And we're recommending that it increase by $1.35 per semester credit hour from its current $16 a semester credit hour. All of these fees would be, if the Board of Regents takes them under approval, all of them would be effective with the fall of 2014. Does anyone need me to go back and restate any of those fee recommendations? Which one would you?
You said that the technology, the student union.
Technology, student union, student service fee, and the board designated tuition. 3 fees and the board designated tuition. Yes.
And the only one that's not per semester credit hour is the union fee.
It's the union fee. That's correct.
Thank you.
That's correct. Yes.
Dr. Floyd, on the technology fee, you're referring to it as a technology fee, but currently in the bill, I believe it's considered computer use fee.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. Though I think we more commonly call it the technology fee, and we are in this case, but it is the computer use fee, if you recall from your bill. Okay, what I'd like to show you now is a comparison of where TWU's fees, tuition and mandatory fees are relative to other state public institutions in the state of Texas. These are annual tuition and fee amounts, mandatory fee amounts, for all universities in order from highest to lowest for this current year. We do not know yet what all other universities are going to be recommending to their Board of Regents for board-designated tuition and mandatory fees. So I will take you down this list as I presented to you and to the Board of Regents last year when we requested a fee, designated tuition fee increase. TWU currently is number 19 out of 38 universities. We're right in the middle in terms of a full year's 30 semester credit hours, tuition and mandatory fees. You can see who might fall below us with lower fees. You see here at the very bottom the average cost for tuition and mandatory fees for students in the state of Texas currently. And again, let me move back, scroll back up. You see that currently TWU is below that average amount for 30 semester credit hours and would be just above the average if we move it to what I have told you. We would become the 17th out of 38 if no other institution increases its board-designated tuition nor its fees. Now, we don't know at this point in time, as I said before, what other universities are going to do. So I can only show you our relative position if all else remain the same. And you'll see that University of Texas at Dallas is here. They have a mandatory flat tuition and fee amount. Some of the others do as well.
Excuse me. Sorry. What's
Yes.
flat tuition fee?
It's a guaranteed amount. We will be moving in that direction or offering that option as well. The bill that you see from UTD encompasses all of the mandatory fees and tuition. You just see one amount of money. And
Can we itemize it?
it is not itemized. And yours is here. It's itemized except for tuition. And again, you've got that combination.
Dr. Floyd,
Mhm.
when you say mandatory fees, does that include the program fees or not?
It does.
So you just average those some way because they're different for different levels of courses?
We do a weighted average
Okay.
on those. But it's a good question you have, and thank you for that point. I do want to tell you that the percent of increase for board designated tuition is an increase of 3.9% over the current board designated tuition and mandatory academic fees. That was required by law until this fall. And now that law has ridden off in the sunset and is no longer out there, and we no longer have to comply with that 3.9% increase, but we have chosen to make that recommendation to the regents. I think when all the dust settles, you'll see some universities with no tuition and fee increases and some with percentages higher than 3.9%. So it's going to be across the board. There's not a pattern that I can see yet in this. Okay, that's really where we stand. And yes.
I have a question, Dr. Floyd. You mentioned a flat tuition amount coming to TWU. Are you going to address that today, or will that be addressed at another time?
I will mention it at the end.
Okay.
It's not a flat, it's a guaranteed.
Okay.
For us, it won't be flat. It'll be
Well,
guaranteed.
flat, but it'll be a guarantee.
Guaranteed. Let's go on and deal with the board designated tuition. I know this is of interest to students to see where we spend the money for, where we spend the designated tuition monies. We are required by law to set aside 20% of board designated tuition amount that has been charged since 2004. We were required by law to set aside for financial aid 15% of graduate board-designated tuition charged since 2004 for financial aid for both of these. So a chunk goes to financial aid. We do pay debt retirement for board-designated tuition. We hold bonds. We have sold bonds to build, for example, the Dallas campus. And we pay the debt service from board-designated tuition. We spend another large sum of money, our percentage, 13%, on scholarships to students. So between this scholarship percentage here and this one, we're the red and the green, we're up to about 25% of total board designated tuition set aside for financial aid. Then the largest piece is to fund the designated budgets. Almost all departments have a designated budget, as well as a budget that is funded from state appropriations. Some of us have almost all of our budget funded from board designated tuition. Some do not. And these designated funds are used to support anything from salaries to office supplies. It's across the board. It funds utilities. It's almost anything we expend funds for. Board designated tuition is used for that, except for auxiliaries. None of our auxiliaries are funded from board designated tuition. They have their own sources of revenue. For example, housing, food service, those kinds of student service activities. Those are funded other ways, by other fees or direct cost applied to the student's bill. Okay, so that's where your board designated tuition goes, and we collect about $43 million. This increase would generate just over $2 million in additional revenue for the university. You might ask, where would we be planning to spend that increase amount? And I'll just give you a breakdown. Dr. Neely, our provost, has committed and put forward a plan that really is required by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, that we increase the number of full-time faculty. And Dr. Neely has a goal of adding 4 new faculty this year and next year. 6, let's see, get this just exactly right. Yes, 4 new faculty minimally. The other area that we anticipate an increase in costs is faculty and staff compensation. We have been undergoing a 1-year compensation planning program, soon to be completed, where we will look at the salaries of our faculty and our staff in comparison to our peer institutions. That work is going on now. And our plan is to put in place a full-blown compensation plan that would move our faculty and staff salaries closer to the median for our peer universities. Cost increases, just as you see them at home, continue to occur. On the average, we're seeing between 10 and 20% increase in some very major cost areas for the university. The best example I can give you are software cost increases. They will tend to average about 20% a year increase. Part of that, part of that will be covered by the technology fee or computer use fee, part not, part by this fee. And we have software packages all across the university that we're using, as you might well imagine. You had a question?
Yes, I understand our university actually invests heavily in databases that we use as far as the student services. As far as the students use. And there are a lot of technology fees that are lumped onto the students, but we don't actually get to benefit from any of these things. I've noticed that you say that a lot of these are going to actually help the faculty and the staff and the university as a whole, but I haven't heard how this is actually going to affect the students as far as our
The technology fee,
any of the fees.
whenever you, many of the let's just deal with technology for a moment. Many of the software packages that we use, like Blackboard or Dr. Neely, you can help me out. Scholarship packages. There are numerous software packages. Some of which you touch directly, some which support you indirectly. All support you in one way or the other. All of them do. We don't have any purpose for a software package, even to the one that we have in the physical plant that controls the use of power, for example, that would not benefit a student indirectly. All do. Do you want to add anything to any of the software?
No, I think you're correct. There's direct and indirect benefits to students, and even the ones you mentioned about controlling power. And basically, that allows us to be more efficient, so that the rise in tuition doesn't have to be any greater than it is. So, really, what we're trying to do is manage this place as efficiently as we can to keep costs down. So, in any context, there are at least indirect benefits to students.
Okay. Something happened to the screen. I was going to open it up to Dallas and Houston to see if they, and there's something new here. Okay. Okay, are they?
And I will mute them.
You'll unmute them? Okay, Dallas and Houston, we're going to unmute you so that you can ask some questions if you wish. So feel free to do so at this time. We can see you, or I can, or all of us can actually. So feel free to ask anything you wish. No questions coming out of Houston or Dallas. Any other questions from the group here in Denver?
The manufacturers that make our books and our online services that we have to go through, as far as Pearson or the My Stat Lab or anything like that, all students are pretty much required to buy into them. How are those companies actually benefiting the school?
Are you familiar with, can you help us out a little bit?
I'm in statistics. I have to pay for my stat lab. It's $100 for me to access the programming, and it's the only way for me to do my homework in classwork. It's required by the class, and it's through a deal that they have through the manufacturer of the publisher. Like, how do these publishers actually help the school? Because we're required as all students to actually buy into it.
I'm not familiar with them.
On top of our class.
I'm not familiar with them. You might stop by at the end of this meeting, give us a specific example so that we can look into that. It may be a requirement of a particular faculty member in lieu of, let's say, requiring you to buy a textbook, or it's the only thing I can think of. I can't think of
I
anything.
understand what's going on.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
Can you just address a little bit the guaranteed tuition?
I will be happy to do that if there are no other questions on these recommendations that we're taking to the Board of Regents. As of this last legislative session, all universities in the state of Texas are required to offer an optional guaranteed tuition rate, fixed tuition rate. And ours will be titled Optional Fixed Tuition Price Plan. That price plan, wasn't that creative?
Can you read that again? Optional fixed tuition price plan?
No.
Okay, good to get it right.
Not everyone will be eligible for.
What's the title again?
I'm sorry. So difficult, I have to read it. Optional fixed tuition price plan.
Thank you.
Students coming to the university for the first time, whether they are first time in college freshmen or whether or not they are transfer students, will be offered an opportunity to enroll in, participate in, whatever you want to call it, a fixed price plan. Now, I didn't bring the slides for that, but what I can tell you is we will be putting out a great deal of information, being led by Mr. Gary Ray here in the next month or so, which will tell you all about it. You sitting in this room will not be eligible for it. You are not a new student coming into the university. Only those students coming in are eligible for it. The price for that, a new student coming in will be able to participate for up to 12 consecutive semesters. And that depends on whether they're a freshman or whether they are transfer students will of course not have 12 consecutive semesters to participate in it. Now, the bottom line to it is you will know, and your parents will know, or those students' parents will know, what the cost of their education is going to be for these 12 semesters for designated tuition only. Not for the fees that we've just been talking about, for designated tuition only. That's the fixed part for TWU. In the end, if you were to complete your studies here as a new first-time in college student, you will pay an amount that is almost equal, right at within just a few dollars, of an amount should we choose to, and recommended by the Regents, each and every year an increase of 3.9%. Did you get that? Okay. So it's very little difference in what you would pay, assuming that the university does not increase tuition greater than 3.9% in any given academic year. But you know what it is. That's the benefit to it. You know what it is.
So you're stating that there is actually going to be a plan to increase tuition by 9% annually?
There is likely to be a tuition increase carried forward to the Board of Regents on an annual basis, yes. Yes. And that assumption is built into the fixed tuition plan, that it would be close to 3.9%. So, yes, good question. And that's a little bit of an overview of what the fixed tuition price plan will look like. Okay, any other questions? Comments? Okay, well, I thank you for coming, and we'll do this again tomorrow.